And I hope you're going to enjoy the show today, because today we're going to focus our discussion on branding. And my guest is based in Singapore, so we didn't go far today. And we stayed in the region. And I'm pretty sure you're going to enjoy his presence. And please tune in, ask questions, because I know that, branding is quite a big issue for a lot of you being an entrepreneurs, building up your business, trying to scale up your business. So it's important that you participate, you ask the right questions, and so we can have a great conversation. So just to give you a brief on our guest today, our guest is Jerome Joseph. Is based in Singapore. Like I was saying, he's an award-winning brand and customer experience strategist and speaker focus on branding. So he's a branding guru, basically, and he's focusing on brand strategies, brand experience, internal branding, personal branding, and also, making sure that, the customer experience is well done. He's a best-selling author of 8 books on branding. So he's, like I said, he's a branding guru, especially in this part of the world, but also internationally. He has over 23 years of experience working with over 1,000 brands. So a lot of people, and working internationally in 34 countries. And, the key thing with Jerome is he's really a top person in branding. He's been awarded top 30 global brand guru in 2018 and last year, and he's also one of the most influential brand thought leader, and he's ranked number 2 in the world. Can you imagine? And he's the only Asian from Asia to be recognized in this field, because we know that branding is quite competitive and can be very, we see a lot of branding. The industry is really competitive in North America, but we don't always hear about what's happening in other countries, especially in Asia. And I think Jerome will tell us a little bit, more about it, and we'll discover more the influence that branding, as here in this region, and how Jerome has been able to scale up his work internationally. So let's start. And let's bring Jerome and have, a conversation with him and educate ourselves on branding, and get to, to know how we can improve, on branding for our businesses, and also our personal branding as well. So don't go anywhere. I hope you have your notepads, your pens, because there's going to be a lot of learning and nuggets today from Jerome. And I know you're going to enjoy his presence, because he's the best. So don't go anywhere, and let's start this conversation with Jerome.
Right? On memories. But as I got older, I started to be more aware of some of the abusive sides of
So, good evening, Jerome. Welcome to the Greatness Engineering Hour show. It's such a pleasure to have you today and spend some time talking about your favorite subject, branding. So, welcome.
Thank you for having me, and good evening from Singapore.
Yes, so our audience is it's global. I see that there's already one person here. There's Eva. Eva is tuning in from South Africa, so she's very interesting about the topic, and I think there's gonna be our usual people from the US and from Europe as well. They're just a
Brilliant.
little bit late, you know. So
Brilliant,
let's,
brilliant.
yeah, so just let's start, because I think branding has always been, one of the key subjects, especially as entrepreneur, because we have a lot of entrepreneurs tuning in here. And just because before we go into the subject, who is Jerome? And tell us a little bit about, your journey and how you got into branding, because it's a very competitive industry, isn't it?
It is, I mean, I've been doing this now for, professionally now for 23 years, probably coming close to 24 years now. I'm obsessed with branding. I love everything there is about branding. But I started, my first experience with branding was really very interesting. It was in the seedy part of Singapore in Chinatown.
Oh, okay.
And I remember as a kid walking into Chinatown, and I came to this, this was years and years ago, right? And I came to this table where I saw a bunch of watches, and lo and behold, I saw a Rolex for $20.
And
kid,
unbelievable.
Right? As the kid, I'm like, oh wow! Everyone says Rolex is like $10,000, and now I got a Rolex for $20. So as a kid, this is like I was 8 years old. I took all my pocket money and I bought myself a Rolex. Because I wanted the brand, right? Rolex, the brand. And I go back home to my dad. I'm like, check out my Rolex. And the first thing my dad said was, who did you steal it from?
Ah, okay, because it's so expensive.
Yeah,
I mean, I can imagine.
Right? And then my mom comes, and my mom said, where did you get this from? And I said, this corner in Chinatown when I was out with some of our friends. And she goes, how much did you pay for it? And I go, $20. And that's when she gave me my first disappointment in life. That this was a fake.
Okay.
I was devastated, right? But I realized then at that young age on the impact of branding that made an 8-year-old get so excited about buying a Rolex and putting it on his hand and feeling good about himself at 8 years old. And that's kind of like and I tell that story sometimes at some of my conferences that I speak in. And I tell people, I mean, why did an 8-year-old buy a Rolex for $20? So that he could go in school and go to his friends and go, nah, check out my Rolex.
To feel good and feel appreciated as well,
Exactly. And that's, that's my earliest experience with branding. And over the years, I've been exposed to brands. I've been very lucky. My parents have really brought me to places to visit. And my first big brand experience was Disney, and being part of the Disney brand experience. So that was really, again, very interesting for me to really be immersed in the Disney brand experience. So all these things, I mean, impacted my life. And as I got into my career, and as I studied, I did my studies in communication. I focused on branding because I knew at that young age, while I was even doing my master's, that I wanted to be a thought leader in branding. I wanted to help change the lives of brands all around the world. So I had this vision, and already at the young age, that I wanted to do something about branding. I wanted to create my own brands. I wanted to help people create brands. And that's how my journey started, to really from a young age, and really being so interested in what was around me, and telling myself, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
And that's amazing that you already had, this vision and this purpose in life at such a young age, and not actually knowing what it was all about, but just being driven to it. But sometimes we get a little bit mixed up about branding. So what is branding? Because sometimes when we talk about branding, we look at more the physical side, which is, the logos and whatever, the office. And when it comes down to digital, the website, is it branding, or is it part of branding, but it's not branding as we see it?
I'm laughing because I just had this conversation this morning with a prospect. So I own two businesses. The first business that I own is a brand consulting company, and we work with clients specifically in the region. And the second business I own is a brand training company. So today I had a call from a prospect that was interested in branding. So this prospect calls me and he says, Jerome, I heard a lot about the brand theater and about you. I'm very interested in branding. And I really need a nice logo.
You see? Yeah.
And I paused for a minute and I said, okay, you need a very nice logo. And I said, you could go online and just pay someone and they could come up with a nice logo for you. You need more than that. And he goes, no, but actually all I need is a really nice logo, because to him, branding was about having a nice tick or nice mark on his card. And to him, that was branding. So to answer your question, and I know I kind of beat around the entire bush to kind of come to answering your question, is that branding is a lot more than that.
Yeah.
It's a lot more than that. Now, if you think about it, if you look at Nike, what's Nike? It's a tick. If you look at Adidas, it's 3 lines. It's 1 line, 2 lines, 3 lines, but tilted. How is it that these are some of the most amazing brands in the world? If you look at Starbucks, when the logo first came out, was a naked mermaid. So it's not about the logo. Now, the logo is a component in the brand, but it's not about the logo. What is branding? Branding is your way of life. It's what people think about you. It's what people feel about you. It's what people perceive about you. Branding is all your touch points, your ecosystem, and how each touch point interacts with each other, creating this experience that when someone comes in and engages with your brand, that they are immersed in what you stand for. Branding, and I like this is what Jeff Bezos, the CEO of Amazon, says this, right? Branding is what people say about you when you're not in the room.
Okay, yeah, I like this one.
So branding is really, really everything. So if you're in an organization, it's your products, it's your services, it's your people, it's your culture, it's your digital. Of course, your logos and your different identity components are part of that process. But it's just a small part. It's an entire ecosystem, an entire world that is the world of branding.
And that's important to really explain it, because like you said, I've heard so many things, and you get lost in the process, and we tend to be focused on just the material thing, the physical thing, but yet you're talking about an experience, you're talking about what people think about you, which is also how you come across and how you present yourself, your ideas, and how you make people feel. And sometimes we miss this part of the equation, and that can be lethal, especially when we do business. So which leads me to my next question. It is, how do you build a credible brand, and what are the ingredients, the key thing that you need to have to be able to build a brand and sustain it? Because at the end of the day, it's how sustainable is your brand as well if you want to be competitive.
It is. I mean, it's I could talk about this for days.
And that's why I have you here, because I know that.
But I'm trying to answer the question, which, in the given time that we have some quick ideas that your viewers can take and implement. So for me, branding is a journey, and there are things that you need to do. So I'm going to tell you 5 things that you can start to do for your brand. And I know I just saw a question from James who said, hey, I'm interested in personal branding. The 5 things that I'm going to tell you will apply to a product, service, an organizational brand, and also to a personal brand. So are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. Ready to put the 5 things. Yeah, I'm ready for this one.
The first thing that you need to think about is the discover. So I'm going to call it the 5D approach.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing is discover. So
Mm-hmm.
every time when it comes to branding, it is very important that you don't just go with your gut, but you really look at what's in your marketplace, right? So you are talking to your customers, you are talking to your employees, you're talking to your investors, you are looking at your competition, you're looking at what your competition is doing. And when you look at all these things, then you are now able to be very strategic in the way you build your brand. For example, I was talking to someone on Monday, and I told this person, he was asking me, right? It's a personal brand. He said, "What can I do? I'm a financial planner." And I said, "Go out there and find 10 financial planners that you admire, that you respect, that you think have world-class branding. Look at what they're doing. Look at what works from them. Don't copy them, but come back and tell yourself, what can I do better than them?" So the first thing is the discover stage. And I think that's crucial for brands. Brands miss that part.
Yeah.
Brands go straight into, you know what they do? They go straight into saying, all right, let me put a Facebook ad. Let me put a Facebook page. Yay, I've done branding. Nope, you have not done branding.
Yeah, because we look at it from our perspective. We have an idea, we say, okay, that's it. And that's why it's important to have, people like you explaining to us, there's a process to go through. It's not just about you, and that's important.
Exactly. So the second thing is to then define. Now, the define part, there's several layers to it, but I'm going to focus on one part of define, which is to find out who you want to be speaking to, who your target audience is. Now, many a time I've gone into organizations and I consult with organizations all around the world. And often when I meet small, especially the small, medium enterprise, when I go meet them, I go, who's your target audience? And they go, public, the general public. Really? I said, your audience is general public? Oh, it's working professionals. And I tell them that it's too broad. Because unless you have unlimited resources, meaning that you have money and you have time, then you can target the whole world for all I care, right? But if you have limited resources, then you need to be very defined in who you are targeting. And that's when you get the best bang of your buck when it comes to branding. So the second thing is define. The third thing is develop. So here is where I work with a lot of organizations and I help them develop a few things. And there's a whole list of things you need to develop, but let me tell you a few important things. The first thing is your brand positioning in the marketplace. How do you want to be perceived? How do you want to be seen? Now, this is very strategic, like what you are doing, for example. You call the show the Greatness Engineering Hour Show. It's a very clear positioning of how you want your viewers to see you and your brand. So positioning is really the ability to be very clear about what you want to be known for in the marketplace. The second thing is then about your personality, your brand personality. So this is, and I kind of do this exercise, right? Maybe I'll play it with you. When you think of Nike, and if you, as a human being, male or female? So I'm asking you the question, right? So if you think of Nike, do you think it's male, female, unisex? What do you think?
It's I don't have any gender for Nike.
Okay, so no gender. So again, the question is, if I were to personify Nike, right, as a human being, now, so you said it could be unisex, right? It could be male or female. Okay. How old?
Young.
Young. Okay. What kind of job would this person be having?
Sports.
What kind of attire would this person be wearing?
Joggings and shorts and,
Great.
Yeah.
What kind of values would this person have?
Value. Team, they really want
Team.
to reach
Great.
out,
So
team building,
team.
in a team.
Remember the
And be
tagline, just do
competitive
it.
as well. Yeah.
Competitive, right? You can get things done. So what I've just given you is an example of brand personality. So when it comes to you, be an organization or an individual, you need to craft your brand personality. And brand personality is what you say what you look, how you
Mm-hmm.
feel, and that's
Mm-hmm.
really what brand personality is all about, right? So the
Mm-hmm.
kind of values that you have, so that's brand personality. So that's the second thing.
Mm-hmm.
The third thing then is based on your brand personality and your brand positioning, what are the different messages that you are telling to the world? Or what's your
Mm-hmm.
key message you're telling to the world? If you have one audience, then what's that key message? If you've got multiple audiences, what are the key messages that you're telling the multiple audiences? So that happens
Mm-hmm.
at the develop stage. So really the
Mm-hmm.
develop stage is very strategic.
Mm-hmm.
Then there is the deliver, the fourth stage, deliver stage.
Mm-hmm.
In this stage is where you create all your key assets for your brand to help you deliver your brand. So that's where your logo comes into play.
Mm-hmm.
You need the logo, you need identity guidelines, but everything is driven from the first three stages.
Mm-hmm.
So the deliver stage is driven by my discover, is driven by my define, is driven by my develop.
Develop.
And now when I come to deliver, I have clarity of how I want my brand to look, all the different assets, all the tools, everything that I need to help me build my ecosystem to the world.
Mm-hmm.
The final stage is drive. And in this stage, what you are doing is that you are going out there and you are really building continuity for your brand by making sure that you are putting out content like what you are doing.
Mm-hmm.
That you are using the different channels that are available,
Mm-hmm.
that you are really activating your brand and driving your brand to your key target audience. So it could be through a content marketing strategy, it could be through a sales strategy, a customer experience strategy. So all this happens at the drive stage.
Mm-hmm.
So what I've just given you is a framework in less than 5 minutes
5 minutes. Yeah.
to help you to start thinking about that branding. It's not about just coming out a logo. It's a thought out process to help you really, when you finally come to the drive stage, everything has been created, everything has been defined, everything has been developed, everything has been delivered to help you now drive your brand into all the different channels that you're operating in.
And I think we tend to go straight to stage number 4, which is deliver something, and we don't even know what we want to, and that's where we get stuck. Yeah,
exactly.
So that's really good. So fantastic. I hope the audience is enjoying it. I'm enjoying it because I'm learning so much. Let's just go. So there's so James is watching from, I think, from Gabon or France, somewhere between the two. So he's interested by personal branding, and he wanted some specifics. So we have the process, and I hope it's important. He mentioned as well reputation, but please be a little bit clear about the reputation. And we have a question here from Eva. Eva is asking, is branding the same for the NGOs and businesses, or do you have to change? I think based on the process, it's probably it links to the message that you want to bring, and then the first 3 stages, but you follow the same process, I would say. So
the process is always the same. I've never changed process. However, Eva, you have to look at the industry you're in. So I take the process and I plug it, for example, in an NGO type of business. I go through the same process. However, my discovery is gonna tell me different things. It's going to tell me different things. My research, what my customers want, what my audiences want, is going to tell me different things. And based on that knowledge, that's when I can go into brand building, because every industry will tell you different things. And you use that knowledge and you go out there and you be strategic with that knowledge.
Okay. All right. So I hope you got the answer that you wanted. We're gonna take a break because I'm gonna leave you a little bit, to digest this process and understand a little bit what it is, and then we'll go to the next level of our discussion and conversation with Jerome, because it's getting really exciting right now. So don't go anywhere. Keep your pens, keep your notebooks, because we are learning like crazy today. But let's have a break to give you some space to really, understand the 5 stages that Jerome has just, talked about just right now.
Branding is never done. It's in perpetual motion. It's your people, it's your culture, it's your services, it's your way of life.
So look your partner in the eye. I want you to say this: have no fear.
Nike is a powerful example of a brand that really uses storytelling. It's a great picture of a boy who was a bit on the heavy side. And you see him running, and it says, find your greatness. And it's a picture that tells such a powerful story.
I want you to say this to me: I am a CEO. I am the CEO of my brand. And the day you were born, you became a brand. And everything you say or do, every single action, every single word, the way you communicate, the way you project yourself, determines your success.
Well-structured, good message, clear message, consistent message.
I highly appreciate your passion. I mean, this is really crucial for us.
He has opened my eyes and shared very insightful things which I could really apply to business.
So the question I have for all of you is this: are you ready to turn on your brand? I've been doing this for a long, long time.
Like, I love everything about branding.
You see who wrote to me? Mickey Mouse. I'm gonna make Coca-Cola disappear.
There is this underutilization of stories today.
Possible or not?
Stories can change your organization.
So Turn Me On is really not just about brands like products or services. It's also about people. And it's about people in all walks of life. A senior executive of Disney walks in, looks over Thomas's shoulder and says, Thomas, stop! This is not the Disney brand.
And Thomas goes, what's wrong with my email, sir? It's a professional email.
The senior executive proceeds to take a piece of paper and a colored crayon.
Hi, this is Mickey Mouse.
Why don't you come, play with us, and bring Teddy home? Customer for life.
This, I think, one of the best. Really, it's really good job. Thank you, Jerome.
I think in today's world, brand equity is worth a lot, and the right person to go to will definitely be Jerome Joseph.
Stories about real people, about real companies. It was great. Thank you.
And it is through your actions, your thoughts, your deeds that helps build this personal brand.
But on the weekend, Tom becomes Tom Cruise.
Oh, a bit unsure now, right?
And Tom gets on his Harley-Davidson and rides like he's the king of the road.
My DJ name was DJ Brown Sugar.
And there's a huge transformation that comes from feeling like he belongs. There were thousands of people running around the streets, shouting, screaming.
I want to create tangible results at the end of my session. I want you to start thinking about how can I craft my brand. If you are comfortable, you are in trouble. Your brand is that light that shines. We all, each one of us in this room, we have fears. But it's what you do about it. And we're going to symbolically release our fears. 1, 2, 3!
So we are back. We are back with Jerome. We are focusing today on branding, and we've already had, the different stage of branding from Jerome. But, Jerome, I just wanted to ask you, because we are in a very, uncertain time, with what's going on and with the pandemic and obviously all the economic challenges attached to it. So how do you see branding, because at the end of the day, you talked about it being, representing your personality or the personality of your company. But what is the impact of the environment as well and the culture? Because, you don't brand the same way in Singapore that you brand maybe in the US or in the, in Australia or in some countries in Africa. So how do you, put the environment aspect into branding, and what is the part that it plays?
So I got the question in two parts, right? So the first part of it, I got the question was, the world is changing. Correct? The world is changing. And the second part of it is, how do you bring the role of the environment in branding? So I'm gonna pack this as two different questions, if you don't mind.
Okay, that's perfect. Yeah.
So the first question is, the world is changing. Yes, it is. Welcome to the new norm, and I know all of you are going through this all around the world. I mean, the fact of the matter is, I've never been so zoomed out in my life, right? Getting online and delivering programs virtually, and things are changing around the world. At the same time, we see businesses suffering. We see organizations, in trouble. We know that globally around the world, there is going to be bad times ahead, and I get that, and that is sad. But that's the reality of the way the world is going, right? Now, how does branding fit into all of this? This is what I've been telling all my clients and my clients to be. You got to fight for your brand like you've never fought before. I'm going to say it again. You got to fight for your brand like you have never fought before. This is the time where you need to be aggressive. You need to be flexible. You need to adapt. You need to change. You need to really be a warrior out there in this changing world. Because if you don't do this and your industry is affected, I don't know if you're going to survive this. I'm saying this from the bottom of my heart, right? And I hope that everyone does survive what's coming ahead. But hey, I live in Singapore, and I have friends calling me up, asking me for work. I have friends calling me up, crying on the phone. I have clients who cannot even pay me. So I'm seeing it, right? Now, however, with that said, I've seen clients who, the way they've changed. Let me give you a simple example. So we had a client who was a restaurant. So what's happened during COVID? Restaurants are closed. Now this guy, guess what this client of mine did, right? We sat down, we had a brainstorming session. Straight away, the way he transformed this business overnight was amazing, like literally in days. He got a website up. He moved into online delivery, which is not a market of his, because he owns a mid-range type of a restaurant. Boom. He went online like in 3 days where everyone else wasn't. Number one. Number two, people liked his food. And so he came out with a secret sauce recipe where people could take his food, like literally, right, and take it and cook it at home. Guess what's happened? He has gone into double growth. So whatever he was making when it was no COVID, he's now making double that.
Wow, that's amazing.
Double that. When every other restaurant is struggling and it's closing, this guy, boom, let's go out, boom. On top of that, he spent money. So everyone is saying, I'm not going to spend money. And he said, you know what? I'm going to get an e-commerce platform to do my online stuff. I am going to spend money on a consultant. I am going to pay money on ads, on SEO and SEM. I'm going to do all these things. So instead of kind of saying, hey, I'm going to hide in the corner, please, please, COVID, don't destroy my business, please. He has gone out there and said, you know what? I'm going to fight like I've never fought before. Because what's the alternative? The alternative is for him to give up, close ranks, and pray to God that someone finds a cure for it.
Yeah. You don't have control on that. Yeah, and that's the thing.
That's my first message, right? To answer your first part of your question is, you got to fight. You got to fight. This is not the time to be conservative, right? This is a time for you to go out there and see what you can do to increase awareness for your brand. And it's going to be, so tomorrow, for example, I'm speaking to an audience in Australia, to the Swimming School Association tomorrow morning. I'm speaking to them.
Okay.
And I'm going to be telling them the same message. Yes, you're going through all these things, right? But there's going to be a time when these things are going to get better. So you have to now not just think about today, but you also got to think about tomorrow. So you are preparing. So a lot of our clients now, we've gone to all our clients and we told our clients, hey, you know what? I know it's tough now, but there'll be a time when this is going to get better. Start preparing for your future. Start preparing for when the economy opens up, because the first horse out, right? Out on the racetrack, right? The first one out is going to win the race.
Exactly.
So that's the advice I've been giving all my clients, and that's the first part of it. I hope that answers that first part of the question.
That answered the first part of the question. Thank you.
All right. What's the second question again?
So the second question was, how you integrate the culture, the environment into the branding, because you don't brand the same way in Singapore or in America or in Australia, in Africa. So how do you take into account this aspect into your branding process?
So there's this thing that I tell organizations that I work with globally, right? It's this thing called glocal. So it's global and local. So when I work with organizations, I say, again, by the way, everything depends on the discovery stage, because it drives a lot of the conversations. I tell an organization, even though you are local, you got to think global. So even though you're local, you got to think global. But it doesn't mean you give up who you are. So it's a combination of global and local is glocal. And that's the kind of advice I tell organizations, right? I mean, you have to have that mindset to look at the world as your oyster. But at the same time, in your market, you have to adapt to what's going on within your marketplace as well. Right, so it's a global and the local. Now, the other thing that I do is, again, there's a tool which I tell organizations to use. It's called cultural dimensions. It's a great tool. So if you Google cultural dimensions, I think it's Hall's cultural dimensions. I use that tool a lot in my branding practice, where when we go in as part of the discovery stage, if we're doing it from a country perspective, I use cross-cultural dimensions to guide my discovery process. So that's the other thing you could do, right? You look at, so for example, is Australia, part of the dimensions could be, for example, masculine or feminine. So Japan, for example, is a more masculine country.
Yeah.
Sweden, on the other hand, is a more feminine country. I'm not sure what Australia is. So probably somewhere in between.
You are in between, I think.
Somewhere in between, right? So that's one aspect. Another cultural dimension could be power distance, meaning how much is power respected in a particular marketplace. Because, for example, if I'm in India, power distance is very high. I know that the kind of messaging that I need to put out, the kind of is all about, there needs to be a power angle to my message. For example, if I'm in a country where, for example, let's pick again Sweden, power distance is low. I cannot go on power. I need to try something else. Right. So just give you an example of, again, there's a little bit more depth to the question. I can go on again for hours, but just to kind of get you thinking around these two principles.
But I think it's already, it gives us an idea of what to do and where to start as well. And obviously in going into the process we'll go a little bit more deeper. And we have a lot of comments here, and I think people are learning a lot. There's a question for James. Is asking about the drive step on the storytelling tool. What is it and how to use it effectively?
So in the drive, we, when I go in, I run workshops with clients, or if I'm consulting with them, in the drive, we build content. So we have we build a content calendar or content bank that we help them to put out stuff in the marketplace, like what you are doing, right? So for example, a live stream, we expect of it. Now, in that process of building that content, we ask ourselves, what are some of the stories that we want to put out to the world to hear? Now, the stories that we put out to the world has to go back to what we learn about the brand, and going back to the audience that we define. So, for example, stories could be, I've got a whole session on storytelling, but just to kind of simplify it, you could tell stories about your leadership. If you're an organization, like what Apple has done with Steve Jobs, or with Bill Gates, right? So they've used their leaders and their stories of the leaders very effectively. It could be stories around your values. It could be stories around your culture, like Google and Google's culture. I mean, they tell that story all the time. It could be stories about customers, how you serve your customers or help your customers' needs. So there's a whole bunch of stories. And what we do is we develop those stories and we put them into content pieces to put them out there into the world. So that's how storytelling is used.
So I hope, James, you got it, and please let us know if you need a little bit more, or you can later on, just connect with Jerome and have a little bit of a conversation on this specific subject. So we have Rosalind. Rosalind is in Texas, in the US, and she's talking about the shift, that we need to do. Because of the situation that we are in, and then giving up is not an option, and she likes the what you just said, fight for your brand like you have never fought before, because that's what's going to drive you further, and then focusing on the long term and not being playing the victim, if I can say it like that. So don't go anywhere. We're going to have another break, and then we'll come back with Jerome and continue this exciting conversation on branding, and keep your question on, and we'll be back in few minutes. Just the time to watch another video of Jerome.
23 years ago, as I started my career as the branding guy, I set myself a vision. That vision was to be the best in the world in my field of expertise, which, as you all know, is branding. I remember sharing this vision at my first ever job interview at a brand consulting firm 23 years ago. The guy interviewing started laughing. He felt that it was an unrealistic vision, especially for an Asian. Yes, you heard it right, that was what he said. I did not get the job, and I walked out crestfallen, believing his words that I wasn't good enough. I mocked around for a bit, but I soon began to realize that it was one man's opinion, and my destiny was in my own hands. Over the past 23 years, I've worked really hard. I've read every book in my field. I've attended every program from gurus in similar spaces. I found mentors and I've asked them for help. I've worked on creating my own body of knowledge, which I then started to use consulting with my clients in over 34 countries. I had many setbacks, but every time I fall, I picked myself up and I said, what could I have done better? Fast forward 23 years, I have not achieved my vision. But I'm not disappointed. You see, the journey to being number one has enabled me to continuously raise my game, my standards, and my knowledge. Everything I do is towards making the vision of being number one a reality. Comfort never produced greatness, and I can assure you I've always been uncomfortable
always wanting to get better. So while I may not be number one in the world yet, I'm pleased to say that in 2020, I have been ranked number 2 in the world as a global brand thought leader. In a list filled with some of the best thought leaders in the planet, I am the only Asian from Asia to make this list. And I'm proud to represent Asia and my country of Singapore. The lesson is this: let no one tell you what you can and cannot do. Let no one discourage you from your vision. In my work with brands, we help them create their brand vision. And then we tell them that everything that they do, every action, every strategy has to help them get a lot closer to their vision. That is the only way. It's 2020, folks, and I'm number 2 in the world. And I'm a step closer to my own vision. But guess what? I'm uncomfortable and I'm just getting started.
So ranked number 2 thought leaders in the world. You're almost there. You're almost there. And it's already so amazing. And, congratulations on all on that.
Thank you.
And, and that's why I wanted to ask you, because like I said, you are the only Asian, being ranked, at this level. And I just wanted to ask you, and I think you've already talked about it in the video. What are the key, of your success? The key thing that actually help you to reach this level and really almost attain your, your vision, which is really getting very close.
So I thank you for sharing that video, and it brought back a very sentimental moment for me, because I got the ranking in the start of this year that I was told I was number 2 in the world, and I was just overwhelmed because it's been something I've been working for 23 years, working towards it. So to answer your question, it's really the 2 things that I've said. The first thing is that comfort never produced greatness. Comfort never produced greatness. And I am obsessed with being uncomfortable. I am. It's in my blood, right? Being uncomfortable. I go out there and I ask myself this question: what can I do better? How can I be better? How can I learn stuff? Just last week, there was an up-and-coming brand guru in Singapore. And guess what I did? I went for a session to listen to him speak. Because there's knowledge all around us. And I believe there is a need that hunger is above anything else. So in fact, when I was in that session, and it was virtual, hearing him speak, he saw my name. And it's like, oh my God, I got Jerome here listening to me speak. And so he reached out to me and he says, why are you attending? And I said, it's simple, right? You have a perspective. I'm interested in listening to it and learning from you. I don't care how old you are. I don't care. I don't care if I'm number 2 and you're not. It doesn't matter to me because I'm uncomfortable, and I'm obsessed with learning and getting better. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that throughout my life, right? I've had great mentors. I've had people who have really helped me in that journey. And I still have them till today, right? I have mastermind groups, I have mentors. And that really is a push. Because when you surround yourself, they say birds of a feather flock together. When you surround yourself with people that encourage you, that push you, of course, one of them is my wife. I was tired today because I've got a keynote tomorrow and my equipment wasn't working and I had a lot of things I had on. And before this call, right, this is what she said to me. She goes, Jerome, when you get on the call for the Greatness Engineering Hour show, you are going to always show the best version of yourself. Doesn't matter if you're tired. And she said it to me just before coming on, right? Because I was exhausted because I had a crazy day today. And I think that's important, that you surround yourself with people who push you, who care for you, who mentor you, who coach you. And my commitment is to have these people for the rest of my life. To always have people around me. Yeah.
Wow. So two very powerful, thing, being, obsessed with being uncomfortable, because we know that when we start to get uncomfortable, we have to stretch ourselves and we have to go to the next level, because the growth is actually happening where outside the comfort zone, and that we can't get away from it. So comfort never produced greatness, and I agree with you. And the other point as well, which is you can't do it alone. You have to, you're a human being. You need this support. You need people who can support you. You need people who can help you. And it's very important to have that, because otherwise, when you stretch, you can give up, and you need this. So
may I add one thing? So the video brought back a memory to me, right? When I just watched the video. Because when I first started my career, right, so came out of school with a master's degree, so excited to look for a job as a brand consultant. And I remember going to a job interview in Singapore, walking in, and I'd say it in the story, telling the guy that was interviewing me that one of my dreams was to really be a thought leader in this space. He laughed at me and said that I could never do it. I could never do it because I was Asian. And I remember I walked out of the interview with tears in my eyes, still thinking about it. That hurt sometimes, thinking about the comment. And I believed him for a bit. What I didn't tell the video is I walked out and I believed him. I said, you know what? This is not. Maybe I'm not cut out. Asians are never going to be successful. We are not. I'm not cut out for this. And I'm so lucky that I snapped out of it after a day. And I mopped around for a day and I snapped out of it and I realized, what? You know what? I'm going to prove this person wrong.
Yeah.
I am going to push this wrong. So the message to the world, right, for those of you listening in, it's very simple. People are going to look you in the eye and tell you, you can't do this. You are not good enough. Give up. Go home. You are only Asian. You're only Australian, and all kinds of stuff they could be saying to you. If someone tells you that, I'm going to give you this one piece of advice, right? And I hope you pardon my language, right? But screw them. Screw them. Because everything is in your hands, right? It's in your destiny. And you prove these people wrong with every fiber of your being. With every fiber of your being. Not to take revenge on them, but to tell yourself that, you know what, naysayers will never put you down. And you will rise above that.
Yeah, and exactly. And that's the best revenge is success. The best revenge is success. So always prove people wrong, because you know what you're capable of. Why do you want to listen to somebody else? You are the one, in control of what you can do. And you're not going to believe what somebody else is telling you. They have their own perspective or their own, view of you based on their own limitation. And that's what they project on you. So you really have to make sure that, you have this belief in yourself, because otherwise it can destroy you. If you, like you said, it can destroy you. You have to react really, really, really well. So let's go to the comment chat. I think there's a few comments and questions. It's getting crazy. I think they're really enjoying the conversation. James, humility, great. So he's enjoying it. And then Rosalind as well. So she likes the fact that, you mentioned that we have to surround ourselves with people that push us and people who love us and coach us, because we can't do it alone. And James, again, we have to keep learning, like you said. And Rosalind is, talking about the pain that you had when this person told you that, you can't amount to anything in this industry. And she said pain produces purpose. And
I like
that's,
that. Pain produce
that's
purpose.
exactly. And that's what,
cool. I like that, Rosalind.
And I like that, because then, you made it your purpose to actually succeed in this industry, and you've made it, and you prove this person wrong and prove negative people wrong. And that's, that's the key in all of this. And mine is the best revenge is success. And Sophie, again, Sophie is watching from Cameroon in West Africa, and she's also, learning a lot today. So, I mean, it's been a really, a very planned hour. And again, thank you for taking the time and, to come and, and share all of this after a very long day. And we really appreciate everything that you've shared with us. Obviously, there's more. And I encourage the audience to just, get in contact with you directly. And if they need support, just discuss with you on how you can support them and help them to go to the next level in their branding effort, either personal branding or business branding. But before we do that, how can people, get in contact with you? And is there anything that you want to share with them, where, any event coming up, or anything that you want to really share with them?
So sure. I mean, please find me on LinkedIn. Look for Jerome Joseph, the brand guy. Find me there. Just type Jerome Joseph brand guy. You'll find me. Mm-hmm. Please, my Facebook friends list is full. So please go to my Jerome Joseph page and follow the page. I give out a lot of free stuff, a lot of free content in that page. And it's interesting because I just, of course, we talk about the shift, right? So I do a lot of my programs face-to-face, and I've always knew that COVID was going to push me to get online with my online programs. So we're in the midst of creating a whole bunch of online programs, and we have one that's coming up. We just launched it today, and it's actually meant for my audiences tomorrow when I do this for a program keynote in Australia. But I'm going to give it to all your viewers. So if you go to the link, and you can see the link down there, Global Brand Academy, thinkific.com courses, Global Brands. It's a course. It's US $97, but if you type the word brand guy, you get it for free.
Okay, so you have to type the word brand guy, and you should be able to have it for free. So let me just, in case you miss it, put it here so that you get it. So that's the word that you should use to get the course for free. And please make sure you do that, because like I said, this guy is one of the best in branding. So don't hesitate. It's free, so you're really lucky to have this, this value from him for free. So make sure you attend and you give him support tomorrow. Because you're not going to be, there's not going to be any deception, I think. So that's really good. So that's fantastic. So anything else that you want to leave the audience with? Because, we've talked about, we try to approach the different angles of branding in 1 hour, which is, kind of, a challenge, because there's so much in branding. And what I wanted to add, the last question I wanted to ask you is that what are the key lessons, that you want to leave the audience with when it comes back to, when we talk about branding?
So just remember that branding is a process. It's strategic. It's very important. Don't do, think. Think and then do, right? So it's a strategy needs to drive action. Action without strategy doesn't make sense, right? You're just randomly going and doing things. Work with your strategy, spend time on strategy, and then go into action. And then you'll see that fit coming together. So for me, please remember, branding is not a logo. It's not a Facebook post. It's a lot more than that. It's a lot more than that. So
Okay. Okay.
that's it.
And very powerful, I think, and very powerful because, like I said at the beginning, a lot of us has different, idea of branding. And yet, it's a full process. There's a science behind it. And people need to understand that you can't just come and then just, put a logo and the website. There's a lot of strategic effort to put into it, especially if you want to thrive and if you want to go to the next level, in whatever area or industry that you operate in. So, I mean, it's been, your talk, your show has been really well received. And so I have Eva here. She's watching from South Africa. She said, awesome. And Rosalind from the US, blessings. And she's really enjoyed the show. And, we have Sophie as well. Sophie is watching from West Africa. Think, then do, strategy, then action. So that's the last word that you let her with. And thank you both so much. Yes, and I've learned myself so much as well. I mean, I've been reading about branding, but it's always good and refreshing to get, this refresher from you. And
I know a really good book, by the way.
Okay, all right.
Really good book.
And don't forget that Joseph is an author as well. So he has authored 8 books on branding. So look for him. Go on his website as well. And you can see, you can order his books as well and see, what is done into branding. And don't forget, he's the number 2 in the world, thought leader in branding. So you have the best here, and don't hesitate to reach out to him and please, go tomorrow. You have this course for free, and you will never have another opportunity.
They can go right now. Because
the
course is open, so they can go right now and take the course.
You can go right now and register and get ready for the course tomorrow, because I think Jerome is gonna have a small break before before starting again.
Just to let you know, right? The course is tomorrow is a keynote, and the course was to be given to the participants of the keynote specifically. So what I've done is I've taken this course and I'm giving it to your viewers as well.
Okay, all right. Yeah, that's fantastic.
Anytime, go and attend it, and you will enjoy it.
Okay,
it's a short, powerful course.
Yes, so go enjoy the course. For us, for today, it's it's gonna be the end of the show. We really wanted it to be longer, but it's the engineering hour. So we've had some real, greatness engineering today with Joseph. And tomorrow we have another guest. This time we're going to India, a very experienced mentor and former engineer and former corporate executive. We're going to talk about mentorship and coaching, and it's going to be also very powerful because the pact has a lot of experience, and he's been working internationally as well. So we're gonna have him. It's not gonna be tomorrow. It's gonna be Friday, same time here on the Greatness Engineering Hour show. So don't miss this one as well, and please join us for this show. And otherwise, that's all for today. For those who still don't know how to contact me, that's my email, website, and you can find me everywhere: LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. So I'm everywhere. You can't miss me, and I have a unique name as well. So there's no way you're gonna miss me. So for us, it's bye-bye to everybody, and thank you so much, Jerome, for taking the time to be here with us despite your busy schedule. And I really appreciate you sharing all this knowledge and helping us to understand what branding it's all about, and offering as well this free course to the audience. So thank you very much. And I'm gonna it's gonna be a good night for you, and enjoy, a good rest before you start your busy day tomorrow again. So thank you very much. And I'll get, to talk to you later. So bye everybody. And
see you everyone.
And see you on Friday, hopefully.